Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February 24th, 2016 episode number 54 of Balls Deep Sports Talk with me, your host with the almost and once again Hump Day hero, Scotty Ball. Thank you for finding your way to the show this week, whether it be via SoundCloud, YouTube, or my personal favorite, the Spreaker app. Thank you for listening. As always, got a great show planned for you this week, as I try to each and every week. I don't know whether you think I succeed or not, but obviously if you keep listening, you must like something about it. And while we're at it, if you're on social media, whether it be Twitter or Facebook, and you're a fan of the show here, please make sure to connect with the show. You can follow on Twitter at BDST Show, and you can like and friend yours truly on Facebook. Simply search Scotty-Ball. Alright, so we'll do one more plug here, and then we'll get to the outline of what's coming up here on tonight's show. Now, as those of you who have listened to the last 2 or 3 or 4 weeks worth of shows would know, I recently started working for a website known as VikingsDigitalDiaries.com. You can also like and friend them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter at Vikings Diaries. But what I get to do there is each week I get to interview for about, approximately 15 to 20 minutes, a former member of our Minnesota Vikings. Now, last week we were unable to make an interview happen, but prior to that, the 2 weeks prior to that, we had interviews. My first was with former defensive back on the practice squad, Bobby Felder, who's currently in the Arena League for the Orlando Predators. And then 2 weeks ago, my guest was former Vikings wide receiver Matthew Hatchett. Now, I'm not sure exactly when you will be listening to this show, whether it be right away when I upload it sometime here Wednesday night, or whether it be more likely sometime on Thursday, your morning at work, your lunch break, afternoon, evening, something like that, maybe on Friday even. I don't know when you're going to listen to the show. But the point is that every Thursday, sometime in the morning or early afternoon, you can go to VikingsDigitalDiaries.com, check and see who I am interviewing for that week. And the interview that we have for this week was awesome. It was a super wonderful, fun, great experience for me. I'm having a blast doing this. And anyway, my guest is former Minnesota Vikings wide receiver and 7th overall pick of the 2005 NFL Draft, Troy Williamson. That's right, I sat down and interviewed Troy Williamson earlier in this week for about 15 minutes. And it was, in my opinion, a really great interview. I asked him what I thought was some pretty interesting questions. He gave what I thought was some really good, interesting answers. And it would really, really mean the world to me if you would take the 15 minutes necessary to check it out sometime here on Thursday or Friday or Saturday or Sunday, whenever you get around to it. You can do that by going to VikingsDigitalDiaries.com on any internet browser, on any internet connected device. You can also access it on Facebook by liking and friending Vikings Digital Diaries on Facebook, and you can also access it by following them on Twitter at Vikings Diaries. So again, check out my 15-minute interview with former Vikings wide receiver Troy Williamson sometime here this week or weekend. Alright. Well, let's get to the outline of what you can hopefully expect to hear me talk about here on this week's show. Again, if you were listening to last week's show or the last couple of shows, I do expect the show to regularly be closer to 90 minutes to 2 hours from now on, as opposed to the 3 hours that it was nearing here every episode from, November through January. But again, those times are approximate and they are subject to change. But anyway, we will be talking Minnesota Wild hockey as we are 5 games into the John Torchetta era here now in the state of hockey. I almost said state of Minnesota. In the state of hockey, so far it has been off to a fantastic start, winning their first 4 games. However, last night they did have their first loss under new interim head coach John Torchetti when they hosted the New York Islanders in St. Paul and lost by a score of 4-1. They have still not won a game in the XL Center in St. Paul. They have won a home game, but that was Sunday. We'll talk about that a little more when we get to actually talking it. But they haven't won a home game in their home arena since December 28th. They could go a full entire 2 calendar months without winning a home game in their home arena. Insane. But so we will be talking Minnesota Wild hockey as well as going around the league just a little bit, seeing where everybody stands in the point totals, stuff like that. We will also be doing the same in the world of basketball. We will focus on my and possibly your Minnesota Timberwolves, who are coming off of a rare win versus Boston 2 nights ago, and tonight they are in action at Toronto against the Raptors, where Andrew Wiggins will be returning to his home native land, oh Canada. Andrew Wiggins home and Justin Bieber's too. So I will have that on here, possibly as I'm recording, keeping an eye out to see how big of a game Andrew Wiggins has tonight. I expect him to have a fairly big one, points totals wise. That doesn't necessarily mean that the T-Wolves will win, but we'll get in, like I said, with the Wild, we'll get into the specifics more when we get to them on the show, but we have plenty of both Wild and Wolves to talk about here on tonight's show, as well as looking around the leagues for both the NHL and the NBA. We'll also be talking some college basketball, as if you caught at the top of the show what the date is here. It's nearing the end of February, which means March Madness is right around the corner. So we will be looking more now here at the world of college basketball in the NCAA over the next several weeks to try and get kind of caught up in a better understanding of who's good and what certain teams' strengths and certain teams' weaknesses are, so that we can make better, more educated, shots in the dark when we're filling out our brackets, as most of us do in some form or capacity come the middle of March. And we will check in as well on a team that will have definitely not be in the NCAA tournament, but it is my home state's Division I team, that being the Minnesota Gophers. And don't look now, they were threatening or challenging, flirting with, however you want to look at it, the record for all-time losses in a Big Ten season. That will be no more now. They have won 2 games in a row. Not only did they pull off the miracle upset at home the last time I recorded the show, mind you, against what was 6th ranked in the country at the time, Maryland. They won the other night at home, on the road, excuse me. No, that was at home. Yes, that was 2 home games. They won at home against Rutgers, and that was in blowout fashion, and that happened in the second half. But so we'll check in there as well and discuss what that may or may not mean for certain people within the program and the university. We will have some NFL football to discuss, as we do year-round. I mean, literally every week the NFL finds a way to have something for us to talk about if we're football fans. The Combine, the annual NFL Scouting Combine for the upcoming draft, is this week/weekend, starting I believe tomorrow on Thursday, running through Saturday or Sunday, I'm pretty sure. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We'll also take a look at some of the free agents who are expected to be available here now before the deadline to cut people, and other ones who have already been announced, some names that you will be familiar with, some other news, and a few players announced that will be staying with their teams as well that might have been expected to leave. So we will have a little bit of NFL football news to discuss. We will be talking a little bit of baseball here finally, just a little bit, but we will be talking some baseball. There is league-wide news and reason to talk baseball because pitchers and catchers have reported to spring training and have begun work. So, baseball season is in some sense officially underway. If you're a diehard baseball fan, congratulations, Mr. Clean. But so having that excuse, we will take a little look into the world of baseball, not just at my and possibly your Minnesota Twins, their lineup, their rotation, things of that nature, but as well as the schedule, what to, look forward to coming up here in the near baseball future, and then also possibly some player news, mainly regarding Jose Reyes, also Yoenis Cespedes. We might talk him a little bit too. He's been in the news as well. I just mainly, and we might not, I just like saying the name Yoenis Cespedes. Like, Yoenis Cespedes has got to be one of the, that alone puts him in like our balls deep Hall of Fame for, I don't know, awesomeness. I'll have to figure out what to call the good one, because we already have a Balls Deep Hall of Fame, but it's a STUM. It's our Balls Deep STUM Hall of Fame, where it's stupid dumb, aka STUM. People or things are in there. But, so I'll have to come up with a more specific name for the good Hall of Fame. But Yoenis Cespedes has already got his honorary ticket into that Hall of Fame when I get it fully established. But so we'll find a way to talk some baseball here in the show. We will also be talking some NASCAR from a NASCAR fans, as the Daytona 500 was last week. I thought it was, but I didn't want to be wrong, so I don't think I brought it up on last week's show. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you listen to both. But anyway, so my apologies for not previewing the Daytona 500 appropriately on last week's show, but the Daytona 500 did take place this last weekend, and Denny Hamlin was your winner, so we will take a more in-depth, balls deep, if you will, look at that story and recap that for you. We'll also take a sneak peek, most likely, this one's on the cutting block if we got to cut some stuff, into the world of professional golf. Check out the results from last week's tournament, see what we got coming up for this week's tournament, and Tiger trying to get back into relevance pathetically, posting a video of a golf swing and commenting on how he's progressing, and who cares, stay gone, just retire and be done with it. So maybe we'll talk a little bit of golf, but just a little bit. And then also we've got real fighting news, and we've got choreographed, scripted fighting news. We will look into the UFC, both for the upcoming fight night, a huge fight for free coming up on Fox Sports North. I believe it's Fox Sports North. Maybe it's Fox Sports 1. No, it's Fox Sports 1. What am I talking about? Coming up on Fox Sports 1 this week for free. Anderson Spider Silva returns to action finally after hiatus against Michael Bisping. That's going to be huge, should draw great ratings. We'll talk about that, as well as the big news that broke yesterday regarding the upcoming UFC 196 pay-per-view and the what was scheduled to be main event featuring champion Conor McGregor versus Dos Anjos, but there has been a change to that, and I will tell you that when we get to that segment. And then finally, at some point in the show, we will be talking pro wrestling, not only Lucha Underground, which I'll be watching tonight as well, as I do every Wednesday night on the El Rey Network. If you don't have that channel, contact your provider and get it immediately just for Wednesday nights. You will thank me if you're a pro wrestling fan. But we will also be talking WWE, as Fastlane pay-per-view for WWE was last weekend. I forgot that as well on last week's show, I want to say, because they did such a terrible job of promoting it, and because I've been extremely busy and out of it the last several weeks as a result.